It's a drink.
Consumables.
Consumable. No way.
My microphone's been muted this entire time.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That was a great start. Great start. Microphone's been muted. Okay, there we go. Hello everyone. Hello. You guys can actually
Just
hear
say
me
everything
now.
over like you never got muted.
We were talking about condiments. Because I accidentally said the cookies and drinks were condiments.
Chat help. Lynn's losing it. I don't know what's going on, but he's losing it.
I'm losing it. You're losing it. We're all losing it.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself. Thank you. I didn't want to burst this bubble, but
hey,
I'll bursting with the bubble. I don't care.
that's so funny.
So
I'm sorry,
no,
Lynn.
I don't
We would love to help you, but
I do not add ketchup to my cookies. That's actually disgusting. I do not like that picture in my mind.
Well, you're the one who said condiments.
This is true.
Okay. I retract my statement about condiments. We have consumables in our hand. I have a tray of cookies. You guys have a cup. Yes. Yeah. But hello everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of Cloudset.
What?
I am Lynn Yoxity. This is Ayumi Yusei, and this is Yuri.
Hey. I can introduce myself. God damn it. No, just kidding.
I mean, no one was introducing themselves, so I just took the initiative. Ayumi's the goddess. Goddess of
I'm a woman. Are you saying I can't take initiative because I'm a woman? Are you insinuating because I'm a woman?
I was just saying no one in the call was, so I just did it.
I'll
yourself.
Have you know.
I'll have you know that you can introduce yourself right now. Introduce yourself.
Now he's trying to tell me what to do. What the fuck is going on?
Well, okay, you can't. You can't have both. You can either let me introduce you, or you can introduce yourself.
I'm my own person, Lynn.
And
Stop trying to control me.
There is no controlling. The only person bantering is you.
He learned the word banter. I am so proud. Okay, I'll stop bullying. You know what? Just today, you get a no bully Lynn pass. Just today.
That thing doesn't exist. What do you mean? You're gonna bully me at some point during the during this thing. You're like, Yuri knows this is gonna happen. That doesn't exist.
Is that pass just from you, or is this as a whole collective?
Oh, Yuri's free to do whatever she wants. She's a free bunny.
Yeah.
So Yuri's gonna do it, and then Ayumi's gonna pick up. So that pass is effectively non-existent now.
No. I'll make sure she does it.
Oh.
That's just for the rest of us.
Okay. Fine. I will take this no bully pass. And the moment Ayumi tries to do anything, I'll be like, Ayumi, here's the pass. Oh, you know what? I should make a quick little. I should while we're yapping, I should make a quick little image. That'll take me like 30 seconds. Just be a big no bully Lynn pass.
Oh shoot! Don't worry, I bring it. I'll make it. You have some stuff to do. You got some yapping to do.
I mean, aren't we already yapping?
Specifically, the podcast topics, which are drumroll please.
Waiting.
I don't know the topic.
I'm trying to figure out that drumroll is.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one thing that I want before we get into like our major thing. I want to tell you guys about yesterday. As you both know, yesterday I was working on set. Now I can't say. Well, actually, no. I didn't sign an NDA. I can talk about the fact. That Chris Pratt was on the movie.
Oh shoot!
Hey yo, let's go!
Oh shoot! I heard about this, so I was expecting him to give us the news. Listen. I need to hear all the deets, baby.
Oh, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to give you all the details. First off, Chris Pratt at one point in the day, and I think that entire scene will make it into the movie where I am fully seen, like, because he even interacted with me a little bit. He was
what?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I didn't mean to say
Like, okay, by interact, I mean he gave he kind of he looked at me, did a little kind of like judging kind of it's like because I was playing a homeless. The entire set design.
Mhm.
Ayumi, I sent you the photo dump.
Yeah.
You saw the which let me go grab just the
Hey,
video.
you supposed to send me the photo dump. Where's my photo dump?
okay,
Why is Ayumi so special? Why don't you love me, Ren?
I can explain. I can explain. What's a good excuse? What's a good excuse?
Excuse?
What's a good
Man, I have
what's
so many things I want to say, but I can't because this is a no bullying Lynn day. Oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, yeah. You regret giving that pass, don't you? You
Oh
regret
man,
giving
there's
that
so many
pass.
things. I almost said something. Lynn, you're an awesome person. You know that.
I thank you.
I have to force myself to say something nice when I
Damn.
want to say something. Okay, let me
Damn.
not say force. Let me not say force. That
Damn.
was a little excessive. It's not a force. I can say nice things about you all day.
Aw, thank you. I can say nice things about you too. In fact, I did recently to someone. I had a whole conversation. Yuri, I'm giving you the photo dump now.
Okay.
Oh shoot.
I'm waiting for my explanation.
Yeah.
Apple juice.
Apple juice is crazy. He's learning.
Yeah, no, that's not valid.
Rockstar energy drink. Which shit, it's
Oh
almost
dear.
gone.
Gross.
Did you see my tweet? I literally added you in a tweet about
I did, but we also remember Ayumi. Like I gave you the discussion. I said I would very rarely get it, but the time would be whenever I work on set, and I was
you
working
have
on
yet
set
to
yesterday.
respond to it. No.
I did.
You have yet to respond to it.
Do you want me to get the evidence? Do you want me to get the evidence?
Oh, I don't remember you responding.
Oh well, maybe someone didn't check their notifications.
I check my notifications all the time. I even have you on notifications. Like, so when you tweet, I see it.
Okay, I'm gonna go find the evidence. I'm gonna find the evidence.
Okay.
This is very Cyberpunk 2077.
Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Ayumi, look in the Cloudset group chat. Here's the fucking evidence. Here's the
Okay,
evidence.
looking.
You didn't believe
Okay.
me. You didn't believe me. She did not believe me, everyone. She didn't believe me that I
You
said I
would call
actually
me
did
out
something.
on the serious side. I already said it. I was just surprised not. Hold on, let me read this. Lynn, stop yapping so I can read this. No, I'm just kidding.
On a serious
Damn,
note, I
let me
saw this
stop
already, and
yapping so
I
can
was
read this.
definitely surprised. Not getting Celsius's or monsters probably anymore. Gonna look at the ingredients for Rockstar and Bane. Now,
Yeah.
all of the energy drinks, I looked at multiple different brands. They all have the same ingredient, so it's gonna be a
Yeah.
very rare occasion that I actually get it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So if you could, I'm not saying stop energy drinks, but find something that, is there one that would not have that? Or do they all have it?
From I looked in the store. I looked at multiple different brands. They seem to all have it. So
Oh.
I'm just like mainly I'm gonna just get soda. When I want something carbonated like that, I'm just gonna go and get a Diet Coke.
Okay.
But before I trail, because chat doesn't know, chat. This is Ayumi. This is Ayumi. She's the goddess of creation, the whole high mighty queen of the cloud kingdom. This is Yuri. She is the goddess of the cosmos, the whole high mighty queen goddess of the entire universe as we see it. She's the one who creates worlds, and she's the one. And then I'm me, and I'm the conqueror of Kaiden. Anyways, back to
You
set.
did not give yourself an equal.
Right?
How I don't compare. This is the truth. I don't compare.
Oh no.
You're both goddesses, and I'm a mortal being. I just live a bit long, but you will technically, if we're gonna go dive into lore, you both would outlive me.
Oh.
Yeah.
You both would outlive me. You're both goddesses.
This is true.
So.
Well, at least we have each other, right, Ayumi?
Yeah, you guys. It's like
Yeah.
I'm temporarily here. I'm.
Temporarily here is a crazy sentence. I thought your demon blood would take you longer.
No, it does. It does. Like I
I
could.
was thinking like half elf, half demon. Like I would have thought, like
No, I can.
some kind of
No.
resemblance to mortality here was like
I can.
close. To
I can live a very long time.
How do
but
you spell dissect?
Disect.
There's only one S?
Only one
Okay.
S.
Thank you.
Wait, maybe there is two S's.
Is there two S's?
Yes, there is two S's.
Oh, that's okay.
Because I
You
I
did
once,
your best.
but okay, so Chris Pratt was actually on this movie. I saw him at lunch, and he was like 5 feet in front of me during the scene, and I think I'm actually gonna make it into the movie. This production
Wow.
was super unique. One, Chris Pratt, I saw him, like he came onto set, and he just was such a nice guy. Like he said like hello everyone, hello, hello. Like before like he transitioned into work mode, he
Mm-hmm.
was like respectful, thankful for everyone. So the props to that. I love when actors like once the day starts, they say hello and they treat it. And you know what's crazy? He doesn't act like he's a huge A-list actor. He doesn't act like it. Like now the crew around him, like the AD team in particular, they'll be the ones
Mm-hmm.
telling everyone do not interact with this actor. They are be respectful of the mind space. But he himself, Chris Pratt, he's not
Mm-hmm.
acting like he's humble. He's extremely humble.
Aw, that is so
Like
cool.
even like while we were at lunch, like he was working, but was talking like right there in front of lunch, where all background and crew, like he wasn't staying in his trailer. And I've worked with actors, like let me like this is it's so nice to
Ooh,
see.
Lynn's about to talk some shit.
No
Ooh.
name. I'm not dropping any names. Don't worry. I'm not dropping
Oh no,
any names.
I just meant you were just talking shit about other people.
Well, I've worked twice with an actor. No, not twice, but I've worked with an actor slash director one time, and even talking with other crew people and other people. This person is not good. He acts a
Mm.
lot bigger than he is. He has a huge ego. Not name dropping, don't worry. But when I compare that to an actual A-list actor who is number one on the call sheet, and
Mm.
he doesn't act like he's number one on the call sheet. Now, he does, like I'm sure what because of his experience, because of everything, he will go and like he will give advice, insight, be like, well, no, he has a voice, he has a say, but that's because he's earned it, and everyone knows he's earned it. He has a right to
Mm.
speak his mind against something, like even if it's contradictory to what the director may want, he can speak his mind. Now,
Wow.
because I mean, he's earned it. He's worked. He's worked
Hold
his
on.
entire life, and it's also multiple other actors. So this set, I'm not kidding. They set up an entire homeless encampment, and it looked real from the details. Like Yuri, in the photobomb, you'll see everywhere the detail, from little bits of trash to carts filled up to the brim with cans to various little home structures have been made, to like there's been like they have the tents, and inside of the tents are an actual home. Then they made makeshift homes, makeshift houses with like
Mhm.
bits of either pallets or large pieces of wood, mesh, gate, like anything you would
Yeah.
see in an actual encampment they did. And then not only did they do that, but everything was aged. And then they had layers of it. Like it went out. It was huge. It was a huge area. Like so
I
that
like
like
how I'm looking at like the picture of you, and you just have a bottle of vodka next to you.
it's water. Don't worry. Uh,
Oh, well, yeah, obviously because you can't actually be drunk on set, but like,
yeah.
this is like that's the dude that sees like,
Oh,
so you're in
one guy had a
had it.
little bag of fake cocaine. So I mean, it's like they costume department. They went deep. They made sure like they gave like little details to everyone. Even in the scene, like some sets will be like, "Don't touch the set. Don't grab anything from the set." This set, uh, they were like at one point during the day, they're like, yeah, if you want to grab something and kind of use it to interact with the scene, go ahead, do it. Like they didn't care. They were like kind of hands off and like
Make
not
it
protective of the set.
believable.
Um, so I mentioned that this movie was filmed in an extremely unique way. It was.
Hmm.
You know the saying that you can't film a professional high budget movie on an iPhone? You know that saying?
Yeah.
No way.
Well, guess what? They can. You can.
What?
They were using actual iPhones to film certain. So from what I guess from this, they were using iPhones, GoPros,
Mm.
drone footage. Um, they had robot dogs. You know those?
Yes, but
Robot
actually
dogs.
little robot dogs that was seen.
Yeah, like you see,
That's so
you know
cute.
those Instagram clips where you see all these robot dogs and you think it's all CGI. It's not
Mhm.
actually real. No, it's very much real. They're real. I saw it. I witnessed it. They were controlling them. They taped GoPros to them.
What?
Um, they had. When I say high budget, they had fucking like 2 police Humvees, an entire ass police van, multiple police cruisers, like a
Mhm.
police truck. The drone that they were filming with, that they were using to film, they had actual cameras, like professional high budget cameras, but they were using that for like various different angles. Now, like the on the scene action, like they had like, I guarantee, with mixing the GoPro footage, which is supposed to be the body cam on police officers.
Right.
Uh,
That would make sense why they used
mm-hmm.
excuse me, why they use GoPros and the iPhone.
Yeah, so they were using GoPros, iPhones, uh, then actual cameras, and then a drone camera. The drone
Yeah.
camera itself, like we found out after talking, it was $140,000 drone just being used to film. Then they had like cameras everywhere. They probably had about, in total when they were filming, they probably had like 6 or 7 camera angles being filmed at once. Um, it was such a fun day. I arrive on set 9 a.m. I go and I get I go to costumes, and I get dressed. Like they give me my outfit, and I had that throughout the entire day. I am supposed to have 2 potential days in May on on this production, and just it's gonna be fun to see how that goes. Um, they had a huge stunt scene, and I'm talking huge. Um, they had an actual Humvee crash into the homeless encampment, and then stunt guys actually like beating, like it was chaos, like pure and utter high budget chaos. The carnage, like I didn't film it obviously, um, but they had like a huge safety meeting beforehand. It was a one take because they actually destroyed that entire homeless encampment. Like a huge area of it got destroyed because the Humvee actually crashed into everything. Uh, and it lasted. It was like a solid. The It was cool. They had like a car set up. This Humvee crashed into the car and was fine. Then there was like cans and carts and everything everywhere. But Chris Pratt, great movie. I am super excited to see this movie. Uh, and what I wanted to really go into, this is in the industry, and it applies to various different industries. Uniqueness will set your movie apart because it's such a standard now to use regular cameras for everything. One take is like one camera, and even now they're starting to gravitate away from having like multiple cameras. They're kind of like, oh, we'll do one camera, or we're gonna kind of get at this or get at that. They are actually kind of gravitate. The industry is gravitating away from that, and so now it's a competition of uniqueness. You need to have good quality in order for your movie to have success. You need to have something that sets you apart because there's been a million action movies. You can there every single Fast and Furious movie, combat movie. There's a lot of action movies. So you need to have various things that are separate. You have a lot of things that involve police. So you need to have things that are separate. It's more like, I think like The Rookie uses a lot of actual GoPro footage for body cam stuff for the police officers, which makes it really cool and unique. Um, Something that was fun with this production, it was literally 10 minutes away from my house. It was so nice because I could just like Ayumi, I think I told you it was the Trader Joe's parking lot that I always go to. And it was like park there and then just walk down the street and go to the parking lot. What? Then they didn't like they had some cameras like mounted in different areas, and then they had most of it was handheld, which really made dove into movement. So it was a really good day, and was very fun to watch and be a part of. And I've never wanted to work. Well, no, that's a lie. I want to work on I want to work on a production as a crew member of that scale. Uh, just like because like it would be so cool to work on. Like, and I can be professional. Don't worry, I can be professional. But it would be just fun. It's fun to work on set. There's a you know when you find that thing that you love that you want that you know you want to do all the time, filmmaking and streaming, both of which are something that I love to do. That I will do any day of the week. With obviously with like there'll be days where I just want to get the day done. It doesn't mean I don't love it. I do not want a cat to come on. Okay, but oh, this costume design and this works with another thing that we want to talk about. The fashion, like they were on their game with the fashion for everything. The design for home, like for me personally, I had it was one, two, okay, my regular shirt, my regular pants. Then on top of that, I had 3 layers, and it was comfortable. It was comfortable, uh, and it kept me warm. But then it's like other like there's so many variations. This is something I love about the film industry, is because I'll see so much different styles of fashion, of different types of clothing, different types of things that I would never even knew existed. Uh, Plus also for many different uh, um, fictional movies or shows, they have to design things from scratch, which then turn into multiple different fashion pieces that get used more often. And leading into our goal of of something that we wanted to talk about, I want to talk about how fashion can be reflected in periods, even through movies. You can tell if you were to just watch movies from the 50s to the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like every decade, if you were watch a movie from every decade, you can watch fashion evolve because every movie period, regardless if it's fantasy or not, you can see distinct fashion style based on that time period, based on that time period's adaptation of their clothing. You can look at just to use 2 movies direct comparison. Look at Dune from the 80s and look at Dune from the 2020s. Very drastically different art style, both based on the exact same book.
I'll be back.
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Both are based on the exact same book. Both have
Mm.
very different adaptations. Um, the 80s, like something it's that I find interesting. 80s has with 80s you have a lot of jeans. You have a lot of very kind of open hairstyles, but for sci-fi and stuff, you have like extremely proper kind of uniforms.
Oh,
Ever notice that?
yeah.
Star Trek, you have it's almost cartoonish, but at the same time, um, it's kind of a proper kind of uniform. Like you compare Star Trek from like the 80s, the 90s to Star Trek now. I'm going to just use like original Star Trek Enterprise to Star Trek Discovery. Same outfit design. I mean same storyline. Not same storyline, different storylines, but same universe, roughly same time period, different outfit design because
Mm.
they made the outfits in Star Trek Discovery more modern with the times. You can't because unless you're filming a movie that's supposed to depict the 80s, you can't make it look like it's from the 80s. It needs to be concurrent from your time period. If you're filming in the 2000s, well, you need to have 2000s fashion. Now, regarding fashion, something I want to say, like this is like a big major question
I'm
I have.
back. Sorry.
You're good, you're good. When did we go from wearing a lot of suits and kind of like fine clothing to more casual wear? 80s I think is like a big mark of it.
I can answer this.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes. All right, Yuri, give it. Let's talk
Right,
about it.
so this comes fashion history. Okay, so we start to gravitate from that probably a little bit sooner than what you thought. So you guys are familiar with athleisure, right? You know, a lot of people out here wearing like yoga pants, even leggings, or just some kind of sportswear, casual wear. This started back, way back, like it happened sooner in history than what a lot of people think. I think it was somewhere around, oh god, somewhere back in the 1800s is probably about when this all started.
1800s?
Yeah. And so we started to really see a spike of it probably around, I want to say, 1920s, like the tail end of the 1800s, early through the 1900s. Is probably when we started seeing a spike in athleisure, especially through the 20s, through the 30s to 50s. Um, and you have your higher brands to think that, like Coco Chanel,
Mm-hmm.
like them, like they made this stuff and would marketed it to where they showed it presented in a more fashionable way, and it wasn't just meant for not how we use it today. It was actually meant for to help encourage people to go out and be active. But even the people who weren't active, who wanted to look like they were active, they would wear these athleisure outfits.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started to develop more casual wear, and then as time went on, we started leaning more towards easier clothing, more casual clothing. This also can go back to part of just change with the decades from the Edwardian era to the Roaring Twenties. How clothes, especially for women, how they just drastically changed within a few short 10-year time span.
Mm-hmm.
And how we went from these long floor gowns to now your ankles are showing and our arms are out completely uncovered. You have like your tops are still wide brimmed or whatever, but you can see your shoulders, maybe it's more straight. Like, your silhouette change, your hairstyle change, the hat wear, shoe wear, everything changes around the 1920s drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And so fashion starts moving way quicker now because things are getting, we have more ample way to explore. There's a little bit more freedom, like I said, specifically with women. Now, men still lean towards suits
Mm-hmm.
and, dress pants and slacks and button ups. But eventually, as you see now, like casual wear. And part of that is from athleisure taking off and being so popular from these higher end brands marketing them to the public, and for them, putting a huge emphasis on people, trying to want them to be active and be, more healthier, trying to promote a healthier lifestyle. But again, not everybody's going to do that. But you're gonna want to look that part. You're going to be fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
So of course you're going to buy this stuff. And it just so happens we come to find out that it's a lot more comfy. It allows us some more freedom to do things that we want instead of always having to be in stuffy dresses and suits and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this also has a negative impact on the environment due to the materials that which a lot of this stuff is made from, which we can go a whole entire spiel about how that still is in today's fast fashion. So, but that's a whole entire another topic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like how you were talking about that, and I was just like, that's so true. Like, literally moments before, I was thinking, it was like, yeah, comfy, like athletic wear just makes me feel so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Yeah.
stretchy and pilly.
Yeah, it can be fashionable, and that's kind of like I said, what they did was
Mm-hmm.
to promote it to be fashionable, but it's really comfy. And like
Mm-hmm.
even I had like I can look to the left of me right now, and I'm looking at a whole entire stack of nothing but sweatpants
Mm-hmm.
slash joggers. I have a ton of that next to my jeans and regular things like that. But there's a lot of that stuff in there that's incorporated in our regular current day's fashion now. Like, especially
Mm.
a lot of people see you more fashionable now, especially for the younger generations. You know, if you're wearing sneakers and sweatpants and some kind of sweatshirt and t-shirt type combination,
Mm-hmm.
that's the in thing. That's the fashion thing.
Yeah.
But
That is actually so cool. So you said the 1980s is when that really started kicking in?
I would say like probably the late.
The late 80s?
Um, yeah, I would say somewhere around the late 1800s. It's definitely during the early 1900s.
Ah.
Probably looking. You're looking at the rise more so around the rise of when Coco Chanel, Dior, and all that stuff, those fashion brands really started to up and come up. And Coco Chanel is an interesting one for the simple fact she was a lot more popular. Like her brand was a lot more popular here in the U.S. than it was overseas, where she was stationed and prompting it, promoting all of it.
Mm.
What's
So the
interesting?
Americans
Oh, sorry.
took way more liking to her style, to her simplicity, and more lack of color, I would say, because she did a lot of nudes, like a lot of browns, deep blues, things that it wasn't very
Mm-hmm.
pop of color.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and one of the things that made her so popular was the fact that she made it look effortless, and it was that athleisure stuff, that casual stuff that really stood out.
Yeah. Some.
Dang, I didn't know fashion um stems from such like a deep background
Oh,
because
honey, there's like I said, there's a whole entire thing of fashion. Like, if you want
oh
to
my
deep dive
god.
into it, we can do it.
I actually do because there's this one clip from this movie where I think
Mhm.
it's the princess movie with oh my god, what's her name? It's the she has like this really doe-eyed look. She's American. I'm gonna find the movie name in a second for you.
Yeah.
But
You're
Okay, find me the clip or whatever, and then I
right,
can help you out. Because
thank you because
even like
mm,
what you said earlier, Lynn, about how you can tell from what decade or year and stuff they are from the fashion that which they choose, which that is crucial for visual storytelling and things like
mm-hmm.
that. Even in books, crucial,
mm,
but like more so in visual storytelling, that's important because it does center you into where you're at a point in time that movie or show or whatever is taking place. But it can also do the opposite when they have something that is not from that time and you know it's not,
Mm-hmm.
it will break your immersion so quick. And
Yeah.
that's
oh,
kind of the dangerous part about being into fashion history and stuff when you start to identify this stuff, especially with the Victorian era, things like that. They will mix fashion through these movies, and sometimes I'll pick up on it and it will irk me to no end because I'm like, that wasn't even in style or around or even invented during that time. Why are they into this? Why are they wearing that?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So,
yeah. Like, it is just like exactly what you said. And then also, even if you're, regardless if you're doing fictional, if you're taking yourself into a very medieval period, you need
mm.
to rely on the medieval clothing. You can't be like, oh, well, they had a t-shirt and jeans in this medieval time when these two types of clothing didn't even exist. It's like,
mhm.
and costume design, even like armor. Sometimes like they'll use modern strategies to make armor, and they'll apply it to something that it was in the old times. Like, don't get me wrong, the medieval periods when it comes to armor was they were very ingenious with what they did, but they were also bulky. They were also heavy. So you need to make sure that you make it look like that. You need to make sure uh it looks like it was crafted in a blacksmith, because sometimes you'll see these armor pieces and they look way too fine. And like, unless it's elvish, like part of like elvish lore is their pristine quality, their clothing, their hair, their weapons. It's always refined. Elvish weapons, elvish style, elvish etiquette, elvish culture is very refined. It is very kind
Mhm.
of like complex, and it's more wise, because elves are known to be wise. And well, if they're wise, why do their weapons look like the regular mankind? So it's a very interesting concept how simple fashion, how simple culture has an effect from different time periods. um
Yeah, that's actually what I want to say. But even the armor, can even break the immersion and things like that. Like I know, now I don't know really much about armor, but I have followed, fashion historians who are into that, and they sometimes I bring it up, and like one of their pet peeves is about how the armor and stuff that which they use. They're like, oh, that's absolutely not practical. Like it makes no sense, and like how we'll see a lot of like flat-breasted armor,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like, oh, that's absolutely useless because like one of the things that actually stopped arrows and things like that is like having that curved, that round breastplate, and like here they don't have that, and they're like, oh, that's awful. And then like how they also wanted their chainmail into everything. They're like, not everything had chainmail, and it's its whole entire own history
Oh yeah.
in armor and things
Armor
like that.
armor design, like there's also just I'll just touch on it real quick. A lot of people be like, "Well, why didn't that armor stop this knife stabbing or this arrow going through?" Armor wasn't designed to protect against a direct stab with a lot of force. It was designed to go against those close combat blunt things, rock throws, blade like kind of like weird swing, arrow kind of loose random arrow coming in at an
Yeah.
angle. If it's a direct hit,
Uh,
no amount of armor will protect that because you got to forget these are humans that need to be able to move and to wear this. If you want it to protect against like an arrow, it needs to be at least a couple inches thick, and it will not deflect.
hmm Yeah, and that's one of the things that even he was like bringing up and talking about how like for you to pierce it, he said you had something really sharp with a lot of force, and he said you had to like really go at it. He said, but even then, he said not every part of the body was covered in armor, and he said then you would be trained to hit those parts, such as back of the legs. He said, believe it or not, a lot of times said a lot of armor didn't cover the backside.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mobility.
open. He said you would aim for the back of the legs. You just aim under the arms, at the throat. He's like these little areas where that armor didn't cover
Mm-hmm.
is where you would want to hit and go for.
Yeah, weak points because like at the end of the day, they needed to
Um,
be able to properly move.
and they had weapons that were specifically designed to go like into these small grooves or to pierce that armor. Not everything could pierce it, but that's why they have these weapons that could do it with them. So there's like I
Mm-hmm.
said, there's a whole entire slew in history on like just armor and things like alone.
Seriously. Um, But one thing that is also interesting, if you look at modern day fashion, sometimes you'll see different outfits, different types of fashion, different articles of clothing that are based on medieval periods. Like
Exactly.
you'll see kind of like leather kind of clothing that you could wear in a modern day, and it's based on this type of medieval period armor. Because it's also interesting to watch the devolving when you match history with advancement of technology to protection against the body, the fashion of medieval uniform. Medieval period, you have swords, you have bow and arrows, so they're wearing a lot of metallic armor. Um, but then
hmm
as like technology is getting a little more advanced, bows are getting stronger, swords are becoming less and less used. They're starting to move towards like more closer arm to arm combat where it's very close, it's very personal, it's very quick, and this armor restricts the movement of the soldiers, so they start to devolve the armor. Then you have the invention of guns, and you start to see metal, like very ever first types of guns. Some types of armor would protect against it, but you need to have this extremely thick armor to protect against guns. And eventually, it gets to a point where military leadership decides it's like, you know what? There's no point in putting in the effort into making this extremely lack of movement, extremely heavy type of armor against these guns that they have decided to completely take out armor of the equation. It's like if you get shot, you get shot. We're just gonna have to treat your injury as best we can. Because at some point it's just useless. Bullets go through armor, so why restrict the soldier's movement uh, when it comes to fucking their uniform? It's all fashion in this brings back to what you were saying, Coco Chanel. Didn't
Mhm.
Chanel at a point in time, because I believe there's a show on Apple TV, The New Look, that is about Chanel, or I think it was Chanel. I don't quote me on that, but I think it's Chanel. uh, or these it's someone who's very well known in fashion nowadays.
Mhm.
During the World War II era, and I don't know the premise of the show, but I've just heard it takes place during this in France during this point of time while under Nazi occupation.
Are you asking was she involved in it or? Okay, so like if specifically asking if Coco Chanel was involved during that time, she was. That's actually part of how her brand kind of it ceased for a time during that time period, whereas many things did because of the wars. And it's also how she lost uh, Chanel Number 5 perfume
Oh.
because during that time period and stuff, right, she did sign away without her. She didn't know she was signing it away, but she thought she was given agreements to the current distributor to continue to produce and distribute this perfume. So when everything's finally did settle and everything, she went to take back, start producing her perfume and everything. That's still like one of the top selling perfumes to the day. Um, she can no longer do that because she unknowingly signed her rights away to that product.
Oh, damn.
Um, but she did help during World War II and in the occupation of Nazi thing, being a spy on them and things like that. Um, Now, as far as well as her fashion and things like that, I don't think she was really designing much during that time. I don't think anybody really was designing much during that time. I do know some celebrities that were still kind of doing like performances, but it was more so to like the soldiers and things like that, not necessarily directly like involved with the war. I know like Audrey Hepburn from the 50s to 60s, that's her main era, what she was popular during, and a little bit into the 70s. But I don't know, she put on ballet shows and things like that for soldiers and raised money and things like that and would help out where she could. Um, but I'm not sure exactly what he was getting at. But
Mm.
he wanted to ask what he had to, go take care of something.
Go take care of
Um,
something.
yeah. Um, but I did just send you a photo. Like I said, if you want to deep dive into fashion history, I
Yeah.
got you.
What I was gonna say earlier, I found it. So it's the Princess Diaries.
Okay,
The
yeah.
yeah, her
Yeah,
person,
I've
yeah,
watched that movie. I've watched both of them.
the blonde lady. There was literally this
mm-hmm.
one scene that was going around on Twitter, and I was like, "What is this?" I thought it was real until I looked it up into it further, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is a movie!" And it was, she was like, "What are you wearing?" or something like that to the brownie girl to Kate. Sorry, what her name?
I'm trying to think of what scene you're thinking. Was it in the first movie?
I don't know which movie. It was basically the scene where she was like, I just put on whatever was in my closet or
And
like whatever I found in a department store, and she was like, well, that department store came from started mass selling this one item that got I think it was a sweater or something. She like the department store started massing selling that, and back in the day it was something popular, so after it got popular and things like that, so it was like there's a story. Basically what I wanted to say was there's a story behind why uh things got into department stores and
Mm-hmm.
the way things look like everything isn't as simple as we think it is. Like if you just go buy a pair of jeans, like it came from somewhere. There's a history to it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, fashion definitely tells our history and where we are at points of times, as well as what culture of which you are a
Hmm.
part of. It doesn't just come out thin air, and there's normally a reason for them.
And
Um,
I thought that was so fire.
very few people could wear fashion just for the sake of fashion, unless you're looking at past, unless you're part of some of the rich elites or whatever.
Sadly, I'm not there yet. Ha, yet. No, I'm just kidding.
I do know, like, some poorer people, like, they still had tried to follow some of the fashion. It just wasn't up to the same level as the rich. So some of the stuff they did, like, it would be different because they would have to work in these clothes. So it would be slightly different than how the rich would, have and doing things like that. But each piece typically had like a reason for it. Excuse me. So what were you saying, Lynn? Like, what were you wanting to ask specifically?
I don't remember. I don't. I know something to do with the new look show. Um, but I don't remember what it was that I was gonna go. But something related to World War II. But that brings me into something else. Military fashion, military uniform. That also in itself is a whole new part, a whole different area, because you even like modern day, you can look at previous like various countries' military uniform design, what they prioritize, what they don't prioritize, why they prioritize it this way. Like for the U.S., we have like a very light beige kind of tan, but more on the lighter side for our soldiers, for our military. That's the general color scheme. Is this like kind of bright tan color? You go and you look at like Britain, for example. They kind of lean more on like the darker side, the darker colors. Then they also, but also military fashion for various different what's it, departments or branches. Like you look at the Royal Military, like the King's Guard now, it used to be Queen's Guard, but now King's Guard. Um, you notice their color scheme, and also notice how like the king. This was a very interesting thing. The King's Guard's uniforms are very slightly different than what the Queen's Guard uniforms are. I forgot. I watched a video on it a little while ago on the difference between the two, but they are wearing different uniforms because it's the King's Guard. Um, which I find it interesting how even like parts of our military, it's not just a standard uniform that everyone wears. It's you have a uniform, but it depends on like your country, your culture, your branch, um, and it's interesting. It's also interesting to watch it evolve. Like nowadays, we have a lot of camo in our uniforms, but you go and you look at World War II, it was a solid color. Now, it could be because of the fact that it was simply designed to be mass produced because it was a world war. It was well, it was a massive war at the time, later referred to as a world war. Um, they had to mass produce these uniforms, so they probably didn't focus on details like camo and stuff. They only focus on that for like the elite branches. Like if you look at the in World War II, the 101st Airborne Division, you'll notice that they have a very specific designed uniform. They have a lot of pockets, and they also around their helmets they have like a net that is around it. But then you look at like just the regular infantry, and they don't have like a net around their helmets. But then you look at the Marine Corps. Some of them wrap their helmets in like a camo sort of fabric, or sometimes also nets. It's interesting to see how fashion, when you really dive into it, can be seen in pretty much every aspect of a life. From your work culture, your work life, your work uniforms, to your everyday life, to your more like kind of high end kind of life, to the type of fashion that you wear for your nights out, the type of fashion that you wear maybe for like a business meeting, your type of fashion you wear with a group of friends. Each one has its
Yeah.
own kind of general kind of style. Um, when they refer to like when they refer to dress up, like white, what's it, black tie, or
Black tie event.
black tie event. Yeah, I was like, there's a term for it, where that's where you wear suits, your tuxedos, or
Your form.
your very kind of like formal, high quality, high end kind of, not night out kind of wear. Um, it's another part. It's also interesting to see competition in for, because this also, I'm thinking about film industry, red carpet events. Brands basically will, I think, sponsor actors to wear specific outfits. I know an infamous one is Met Gala. You'll have all A-list celebrity actors wearing all sorts of different outfits.
Met Gala is its own entire beast entirely.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard. Like I haven't dove into it. I just hear about various different outfits that celebrities are wearing at it. It's like that's the only thing I hear about it.
Will pretty much commission these designers to make an outfit specifically for them. And like they'll work together, like I want it like this, I like this, and this and that. And it has to fit this whole entire theme that goes on with the Met Gala that year.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's its whole entire thing. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. So because I never really took too much interest in the Met Gala until recently. But it's, from my understanding, it's like it's a strict code, like you have to meet the requirements, if not you're not getting in or whatever, something like that.
Oh shoot.
And definitely it's invite only. And there's like, it's this whole entire big event. It's just like one big freaking fashion show. What actually goes on in the Met Gala, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I have no idea what actually happens in the Met Gala.
I'm assuming it's just like a party for the the chosen ones here.
The chosen ones is crazy.
I mean, I cannot remember her name, but she's in control of the Met Gala. It has always has been. But she watches all these celebrities come in with these dresses and things like that. And the things that people say, like, she doesn't come out to the carpet, whatever. The one year she did recently, and I can't remember who that was for. It was Gaga. When Gaga came, she came out specifically to see Gaga walk in her that year and what she wore to the Met. And people said she doesn't do that. So like that's kind of like a really big sign of like honor, like from her, like her actually getting up, leaving her station to come outside the building and just to see you come down and get your photos taken and talk to the press and things like that. That was like a big deal.
Oh,
interesting.
But again, as far as that, I can't really say, because I mean we see the photos and everything from the Met. As far as like the ins and outs of, I don't really have anything to say about it because I don't know anything about it, so I can't really
give
a go to it.
Yeah,
but if you want to do other things, fashion brands, I got you.
Okay, well, how about we dive into that? Fashion brands. How did many of them come up? I don't know much about that. I know some have become very prominent, and then some kind of had a time and then they kind of faded out, but I don't really know the ins and outs of that.
Probably just about how any other business starts. You had the materials, there was a demand, so you did it.
Okay.
Basically just about like so with anything else. Now how some of those trends and things that came about different ways. Same thing with how fast fashion started, things like that. Let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? There's this one incident that specifically triggered, and I can't remember what they are called. Because they're like a seamstress, but they're not a seamstress. It's another type of word that can't remember. It was a type of ladies that did this one particular type of work, and then it got sent on to the other side where the guys would do and take off. Because at one point in time, it was like only men did this work. Believe it or not, they didn't really see as women doing it, but then, there was some women who did. but I can't for the life of me. I cannot remember what these women were called. It's a specific job that these women did, and I cannot remember. It's irking me. But anyways, like I remember, what I remember learning about that was that they had this one particular type of job set that became popular,
Mm-hmm.
but because the guys, the men, literally men, the males, they thought, oh, this isn't important. We don't need this anymore. Tried to do away with it, and so some of them like kind of signed off the stuff, and so these women took it over, and they're like, oh, well, we're going to put it in the job market, and it took off because they started making these trends and things like that, and started making stuff catered specifically to women, for women, by women,
Mm-hmm.
and it took off, and then like the men like scrambling to try to get it back
Of
because
course, of
these
course.
women are now making bank, and they're just like, oh god,
What? Oh God, these
so
women
yes,
were more powerful than us.
yeah, pretty much, and it scared them. It scared the men at that time, because that's a time where women didn't really have a lot of freedom,
Mm-hmm.
especially financial freedom, things like that. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's them like they're like, oh god, how dare these women, do this? But anyway,
How dare they have an
um,
idea?
and I'm doing a very poor job of explaining. If I could remember the name of the job, I could do better, but I can't. Um, but, that's just how all these jobs started. They had the means to put out, so they could.
Okay, okay.
And then some of them, were from poor people who just right place, right time era stuff. Things just took off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't remember how Dior got started, but he was super and still is. But this is something that's interesting that someone had pointed out. They're like, you can tell what fashion designer loved women and who were just in it for the money. Because Dior designed specifically at the time like just like two women.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of even today, a lot of the gowns that you would see at these balls and at these formal events and anything were Dior, and
Mm-hmm.
they are gorgeous. Like, oh my god, they are gorgeous. And that was one of the ones like you look at his work and stuff. It's like, oh, you can tell like he appreciated women and he knew the women's figure well and knew what the women wanted. Whereas you look at some other people and like, oh, they were simply in it just for the money.
Yeah. Well.
And that's it's as much as I talked about Coco Chanel. Was like, it's unfortunate she was like that. She was pretty much in it just for the money,
Mm-hmm.
even though she was a woman and she was trying to promote this stuff. And it's like she wanted to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That was her goal. So that's pretty much how her brand got started. Like she wanted something, so she made it. She
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be somebody. She wanted that name and that money.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and from what I heard, I don't know how true it is, but I think they said she would kind of steal fashion and stuff from other designers and things like that, and would market off it before they could. So,
I mean, it
but
wouldn't
I can't.
surprise me, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know to confirm or deny. I'm just saying, it's like it
yeah,
wouldn't surprise me, especially like, I know, like just on paper, just like the fashion industry, it's like especially between designer brands, it's extremely competitive
yeah,
on who can have like the best design and who gets it first. Because like once,
yep,
especially when you have these main competing brands, like once one of them has a design, the other is like, oh well, we got to go back to the drawing board and do something else, or we're going to just copy them,
yeah,
but we're not going to sell it as
yeah.
well.
It's like where they're going to capitalize on it, and it's going to become a trend, and then it's going to, expand.
Mm-hmm.
Which nowadays they don't really use famous people too much to kind of start these trends. Like it may maybe some you'll pick up from it, but most of the time it is the public, and it's what people are picking on what sells. So then like they'll copy that stuff and they'll start producing it in their brand
Mm-hmm.
and marketing it to the public, which is how we get fast fashion.
Yeah.
Or well, it's one of the things that contribute to fast fashion.
Mm-hmm. Here's another question. What is a fashion style that intrigues you the most and why?
Mm. Mm. A fashion style. Let me think about it.
All
Why
right.
don't you go? Let me
Uh,
think. What's yours?
for
Because
me,
I know so much.
For me personally, I very much like jeans. Jeans matching with like a matching kind of top piece and
Or get
layers.
them.
Uh Colors I typically lean to are more on the darker side, but I also like contrast. I don't have too
Mhm.
many options for contrast, but I like having either it needs to blend together or it needs to have a really good contrast. So, like if I have like a dark kind of blue, I want more of a lighter top. More often than not, I don't really like light pants. I prefer to have dark pants and a light shirt. That's a
Casual wear is your preferred style.
yeah. Casual wear is my preferred style. Um, because for me, it's good for most situations, and like even like when it comes to like having like a more nice outfit, there's like a really interesting style that I like a lot where you mix like a blazer with a very cool pair of jeans. Um some like I've done I think I had this like beige blazer that I wore that I had like kind of like a darker shirt underneath, dark pants, but the blazer was like the contrast of it. And it was cool. And I always like to have shoes that more or less match. Now right now I'm wearing like my everyday kind of I don't really give a damn what happens to these shoes sneakers. They're comfortable. They're comfortable and they're light. And so sometimes I just have those days. But I have a couple pair of if it wasn't for the fact that Converse were so like not comfortable after for long periods of time, I'd be wearing Converse all the time. Converse are because you have a very good. To me, they almost blend with any pair of jeans, some way or another. Like if I have kind of like lighter pants, have a darker pair of Converse, works out great. If I have darker
Mhm.
pants, maybe have a lighter pair of Converse, works out great. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, like casual kind of wear that is multi-purpose in a sense, um, but works in most situations. I don't like for me, I'll wear sweat stuff only if it's like a very particular kind of outfit. Like everything in it ties together. Like grays with grays. Like I have a pair of like cool gray sweatpants. So I'll usually mix that with like a kind of gray outfit. I like more baggier pants with boots. That's a combo I really like. I like boots. Boots are cool. Dark boots, light boots. I don't really like I have a light pair of light gray boots. But the rest of my boots are dark. What about
I
you,
believe that makes
Ayumi?
Mm, I like. Mm, I like everything I don't wear. I
Oh.
like sexy, cute women's fashion. I like everything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's just like the confidence to wear it is not there. But I'll wear it one day. I'm slowly getting there.
We'll get you there. We're going to get you there. I am so hard pressed to like get your confidence built up because
Mhm.
good God, wear what you like.
I
Dude,
don't know.
don't be afraid.
I like dresses with pockets.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, not a lot of dresses have pockets in them.
I know.
Still, to this day.
Okay, I
Um,
because this is one thing that I know is a very stark contrast in guys' fashion and girls' fashion. Why the hell do girls not have pockets? Why do your clothes not have pockets?
I don't know.
Because like guys like we pockets are never a question for us. It's like we always have deep pockets. We can fit our keys, our wallet, our phone. Like hell, I like yesterday I was working on set. I fit two phones and my wallet in one pocket, and then in my other pocket I had an entire battery pack. So it's interesting, and it goes back I know a while, but like guys always have pockets and girls don't. Like girls clothing styles don't. Which and I genuinely don't know why. What's different? Like I because you like even nowadays, like I understand like back then when guys would have pants but girls would be wearing dresses and dress at the time like dress I actually no, I don't know. But nowadays you
okay, so dresses in the past did in fact indeed have pockets. And in fact, they always weren't in the dress or the skirt part of the dress. Sometimes it was actually within the sleeves.
Oh.
So what happened? Why isn't that a modern strategy?
It was no longer necessary, partly. Also, you have to look at the promotion of handbags, be partly for that.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I
And
can.
just the other structure of clothing and things like that. And again, you also gotta remember, like, women didn't design pants or jeans. It was men that did because, well, men wore them.
Mm-hmm.
And you also got, like, for the longest time in all fashion history, it's like men made the majority of the clothing. So,
Yeah. No, this
but
is true.
there were women designers and things like that. But throughout time, they just seen a decrease of a need of pockets in pants and purses for women.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, like I said, it's just more used to, hey, buy these purses, get this, buy that. And it's forever, it's an old age, critique of all women. It's like, we want pockets, give
Mm-hmm.
us pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, like, so they recently changed the dress code at my work, and they don't want our cell phones out on our tables or anything. They want us in our pockets. But I was like, okay, well, you say we can't wear our sportswear stuff anymore, which do have pockets. You're now wanting me to wear jeans. My phone's not going to stay in those jeans.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come out. You're going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no choice but this, like, either you open up a new pants brand that has proper pockets so I can put my phone inside pockets, or deal with my phone being on the table because something's got to give. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, that's just pretty much how it changes. It lost its purpose for whatever reason. Um, in fact, now I'm thinking about, I think I don't even recall 1920s dresses having pockets, but I could be wrong. I definitely could be wrong. But I think that's probably about more accurate where we started to see the rise, excuse me, of, oh god, excuse me, of satchels and handbags. The satchel and a purse are two different things, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, they're actually different things. Um, though we did have satchels, and there's even something before that, before a satchel. But we did have, handbags in the past, even with dresses and things that did have pockets. We just didn't use them a lot. It's more of our modern 20th century and stuff when we started seeing those more incorporated into our fashion.
Interesting. Yeah, because like for as far as I know, this is also another interesting topic I want to discuss.
Hmm.
Fashion between the genders, what was judged and what was just accepted. And for me, at least like off the top of my head, I feel like guys always were able to get away with more new things versus females. With when it comes to regards with trying to innovate fashion styles. Am I wrong
Yeah,
or am I like yeah? It's like
in a way, yeah. Again, it goes back to the gender inequality
mm-hmm.
and how in the past how men just ran the whole show,
Yeah.
pretty much. And we had a lot of rules and restrictions, which I mean, men did too. There was a certain code of things that which you followed that your fashions have had to be or meet. Because even though men predominantly wore some kind of suit
Mm-hmm.
or something, before that, some kind of t-shirt, not t-shirt, some kind of shirt and pants ensemble type thing.
Mm-hmm.
They still had their own fashion and their own rules of fashion, which they had to follow to meet that current time era's, rules of standard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for women particularly, it comes back to just that kind of control thing in a way. But at the same time, women did have freedom to kind of influence their fashion in a way.
Oh.
They could kind of stuff they lean more towards. It's like they like this thing, but they didn't like this thing. So they've got more of this and less of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard because it has to meet the society rules as to why they dress the way they dress and what was considered appropriate and what wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and like, especially for along women's fashion, it's far more noticeable than men's fashion about how it would change once it hit a certain time period.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the whole entire Victorian era, you would actually see some fashion styles recycle back through. So like the era started out with like, you know, big sleeves and things like that, and then they died out. And then at one point, you know, the big sleeves and skirts and stuff came back, and then it went away again. And like their bustles got smaller and things like that. And then you started transitioning on into the 1920s, where they're like, we're doing away with all of that. We want change, you know, because the wars changed everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so like yeah, that first war it changed everything, which is another reason why fashion took such a drastic turn into what we had previously had known up to that point. And they started, you know, we got the boys silhouette for women where they wanted a more straight figure. You got way looser clothing, your skirts got higher, and like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you see ankles, their arms were out completely and things like that. And they didn't have such constricting fashion stuff to adhere to these rules. They got a little bit looser.
Mm-hmm.
So it all, like I said, it all comes back to the gender inequality in a time era that which they were in.
Interesting. Interesting. I, I've it's interesting to see because like you look at nowadays and like now another question I have is what has been like for both kind of genders, what has been like a major pivot in like fashion industry? Like what's the type of style that has most like been adopted kind of by like to like the mainstream fashion now? Like for guys at least, it you in like the 60s it was very much kind of suits and dress up shirts, even with like kind of, it's still kind of like casual, but that suits used to be the casual. Then it got to a point where it pivoted to a little, I would say, more casual wear of jeans and things. That's like getting closer to the 80s of
Mm-hmm.
because like you look at all 80s movies, everyone's got jeans. Everyone's got jeans and they all got light jeans. That's also an interesting thing. The color scheme of how fashion has changed over the decades. Uh, During like the 60s and stuff, it's more, I would say, darker color scheme. Like you have your browns, your blacks, your grays, your whites. Then you go into like the 80s, you see a lot of blues. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then you go and you get into like the 2000s. Now we're starting to see variation of color. Then we're starting to see a return, at least to like for guys stuff that I've seen. You start to see kind of a lot more darker colors again, a lot more kind of like mixed colors. You have your browns, you have your blues, you have your blacks, you have your also more neutral colors, light grays, light beiges, light tan. Um, uh, and then you kind of now it's like very mixed. Like you'll see a lot of darker. I feel like honestly, it's still kind of more for guys at least when it comes to pants. At least here in Los Angeles, from what I've seen, it's a lot more leaning on the darker kind of side of the color spectrum. More blues, more blacks, more grays. Um, but okay, so like, what's the evolution that you've seen for like at least in like the female fashion?
God, every decade.
Well, like, what's your favorite one at least?
Favorite fashion or favorite shift in fashion?
Let's go with both, but let's go with favorite shifting, like fashion.
Oh gosh. Probably the 50s.
50s.
Mm-hmm. When we started getting back to the more feminine yet modern type style of dress.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, like during the 20s and stuff, we started to get away from that, even though there's still dresses. You didn't have the feminine silhouette. And it started to evolve, you know, a little bit through the 30s to 40s.
Mm-hmm.
But around like the 40s and 50s and stuff, and this goes back to Dior, if I remember correctly. He was the one who, I think he was the one who presented the little black dress. I think that's what he did. Though Coco Chanel, I think, capitalized on or something, or whatever. Something around those two at that time. But Dior brought back the pretty much that hourglass figure
Mm-hmm.
and gave back those softer features to the female populace.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably where we start to see that shift back, and you had all these amazing dresses. But that is like your shoes matched your dress, and you had these tights that you wore with them, and you had matching gloves, and your hats, and your bags, and your accessories. Um, excuse me. Another thing I loved through the 30s to 50s is if you look at the makeup packaging, it felt elegant, it felt unique, and it felt creative of how they would present this stuff. And this stuff was even made to like go with the outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even like a purse actually was in a purse of what we consider in today's time. It would actually be a compact, a whole entire makeup compact thing on a chain that a girl would put around her wrist or her shoulder, and you open it, and there you had your blush and your mascara and your lipstick, and it was all right there in this little metal case, things like that. And before it started transitioning on to the softer things, and then like like I said, they made the bags and all that stuff start matching, like your whole entire ensemble matched, and it was so nice to see
Mm-hmm.
just one cohesive outfit with still some idea of practicality, almost, I would say, almost with the idea of practicality behind it. But then again, it's also 50s is also very misogynistic for the fact that like the term promote like women stay in the houses, be a wife, and homemaker, basically, like be the caregiver and the wife and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so like I would say there was some negative connotations with that, but again, you had these beautiful dresses and that came from that time, as well as the rise of the more popular higher end fashion brands like Coco and like Dior and like Louis Vuitton and all that stuff had to like come up to a rise. But Louis Vuitton did get their start back in the Victorian era, so.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's cool. I that is very interesting. Just like at that time, it's like it was, as you said, it was the period of, well, very much a woman is going to be the at home, the care provider, the this. It's like very controlling.
Yeah.
While that's, but simultaneously during that period, that's when like women's fashion is kind of going back to kind of this, but it's also different, and it's
Mhm.
not.
It was also a lot cheaper then too. So, I mean, by their standards, it wasn't cheap. By our time and stuff, they're like dresses were sold for like what, $5?
Yeah, but it's like, but it's like to us, we're like with inflation, we're like $5. Oh, easy, easy. But then you go Ben, and you're like, oh wait, no, they earned so little money back then because at that
Yeah,
time inflation wasn't crazy.
yeah. So it's like I love watching like I love Lucy or the Audrey Hepburn movies,
Oh yeah.
especially Audrey Hepburn movies. Um, just the fashion
Mhm.
alone like just makes me happy. It just looks so nice. Though Audrey Hepburn was published through the 50s and 60s, so her fashion was, depending on what decade the movie was set in, would either be
Yeah.
from 50s or 60s. But they were so nice and so pretty. And that's one of the things that the 60s did continue, was that you had that one cohesive silhouette of an outfit.
Mhm.
Um, 70s, I would say, is probably when we started to break away from that, and you started seeing these mixed matchups, things like that, more prevalent, and especially like through the 80s. You got the whole entire, like the gates were open.
Mhm.
Everybody was in color, including men. It didn't matter. And then you had like the whole entire punk movement that came through the 80s, through the 90s,
Mhm.
and like fashion was going in so many different directions, and it became more acceptable to like to have these different identities as far as fashion went.
Mhm. Ayumi, what about you? Uh,
Sunshine?
Ayumi?
Hi,
Uh-oh,
I'm
did we lose?
here. This
Oh,
this
she's here.
mini is coughing. Hi.
Hi.
Same question. What is your particular favorite kind of like period of when fashion was changing, or color scheme, or kind of just overall? What was your favorite?
I don't have a favorite because I don't know any. But I
All right.
do like. I do like the encouragement of women's fashion.
Mm-hmm.
No. Hold on.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Hold on.
Uh-oh, mini leader.
Oh
He must
no.
not be feeling. He keeps coughing.
Oh no. Uh, Something that I like about current days is there's a lot of like now in the 2020s, there's a lot of options for various different
Mm-hmm.
things. Like
Oh yeah.
if you want, especially with the evolution of cosplaying and the film industry, I want to say like the film industry getting a huge boom in what was it, early 2000s, like no, the film industry has had major booms. I think I want to say like 70s, 80s. I'm trying to think of when feature films like really took off. You had all your like your sitcom shows, your kind of TV shows. You like those shows that would come regularly on the channel. Um, but like movies, fictional movies. Yeah, 80s was like a big boom. Then you went through the 2000s. Then I think 2010s and onward, you had a huge boom in the film industry. I think the film industry, with its constant like care for like entertainment and various stories getting adapted, has definitely contributed a lot to various fashion styles
Mm-hmm.
along with like books, especially like you with the constant ever growing like going to what we talked about last episode on Cloudset, the saturation of various movies, various books, various different styles that all kind of started contributing to various different elements and various different factors that would push
Mm-hmm.
someone forward. Someone's like, I want to adapt the book this way. I want to see what this outfit would look like in this current time period. And then you look at now, like I'm going to go back to my comparison of Dune, of where you have Dune from the 80s and Dune from now, and how you have two very different outfit styles. Like Dune now is very much more mystical, ancient sci-fi, and that's kind of like because there's been a major boom in sci-fi movies with kind of what they would look like now. Like back, it's interesting to see in the 80s the picture of uh, I'm gonna go Back to the Future. Back to the Future pictures a time period of like the 2000s of like this very like ultra techy clothing styles, very kind of like baggy, kind of like the kind of hip hop style kind of clothing. uh I think in like Back to the Future, that's what they picture like the 2000s of having, with flying cars, the self-tying shoes, the self-tying jackets, very baggy, very loose. It's interesting to see Back to the Future's depiction of what future fashion was going to look like, and then compare it to what we currently
Mm-hmm.
have. We do have some elements, but we don't have everything. We don't have like
Yeah.
we have the baggy style type of clothing, but it's not like a general everyone wears this. It's more kind of niche into a specific genre, which is
Yeah,
which
and it's going to be hard to actually kind of predict what people are going to be wearing 2 years, 5, 10 years from now,
mhm
because fashion just changes and moves so quickly and so much that you can't really pinpoint it.
mhm
But the stuff that came out from that movie in particular was, yeah, it was interesting, it was unique, and like you said, this is what they thought we would be wearing. Like, if people like really thought 2000 was going to be like the year of the future where we had, flying cars and, we're zooming through the air and had all this super advanced technology, and it didn't turn out like that. We did have advanced technology, but it didn't turn out quite like they pictured, and they thought, we would be in some kind of space theme type fashion because that would be all the rage then.
mhm
When really it was more so from that time period.
yeah, it was like
Because
that.
people actually started to take that and they're like, oh, well, I want to be ahead of time, so let me kind of start dressing like this now.
Mhm
So Yeah, fashion is so quickly paced and changing, and it's hard to predict how it's going to go at any given moment.
Seriously, because I mean, you can just looking at history, you can see it's like you have the kind of straight line period, but I think it's like you said, well, the 70s, all of a sudden you have this kind of like roughly straight line to all of a sudden you have a million branches going a million different directions. You had this relatively straight line. Now it's a giant maze of different lines going different directions because you have all these different designers that are trying out different things. You have and different elements are going on. People are copying this, people are copying that. So it's now it moves at such a fast pace. Like like literally last year's fashion is not even applicable to today.
Mm-hmm.
And it is extremely interesting to see how accurate but inaccurate certain predictions are.
Yeah, it does get very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we'll ever hit like level of Simpsons prediction, but we can
Simpsons,
always try.
Simpsons, yeah, is very scarily accurate to when it comes to predicting stuff. It is weird.
Insanely.
It's like I swear they have like some like extremely smart. They have this room where it's just focused. You know how like there's the study of war for when it comes to anything military, where they try and predict based on history. I feel like The Simpsons has its own thing where it has someone from every kind of level of the government to level of population to level of rural. They have a room and it's all of them, and they're just like trying to predict. It's like, okay, and the next,
I'm gonna grab some headache medicine real quick,
yeah,
but keep talking.
yeah. So we're in this time period, and this is what's going on all around the world. How are the events of this going to inflect this to the events of going this? And for some reason, The Simpsons, like I've never watched it, but I've seen clips of them predicting. They are so well informed on like their history. They're I think like what their kind of prediction comes from. They focus on historical past to the current events, and then they compare the two, and then be like, well, what's the possible outcome? What's the likelihood of this outcome based on our history of this event affecting this way, and what way does it affect? Um, by that I mean like, okay, I'm just gonna use an analogy. I don't know if this is in The Simpsons, everyone, but I'm gonna use an analogy of World War II. How did World War II affect technology? How did World War II affect how does it affect technology? Why does it affect technology this way? Is technology going to be used to go into the war? Is it going to be used elsewhere? How is the industrial side of everything going to get affected? So I, I swear they have a. Well, give me one sec.
Oh dear. Everyone's gone, and it's just you and me.
Yep.
Do you think you were gonna end up in this lifeline?
Hang on, I'm taking my last Tylenol. Hang on.
Okay, I'm back. I just
Take the pill.
yeah.
Take it.
Take your medicine.
Take
Take
the
your
blue
medicine.
pill. You'll never know what happens if you don't
Do you
take
want
it.
the blue pill or do you want the red pill? Do you?
Okay.
Okay, this can we talk about it real quick? How certain movies have become such a culture of modern day society, like The Matrix, for example. Everyone, it's now such a big saying where it's like, well, The Matrix is real because this thing's glitching, or I'm seeing numbers everywhere. It's obviously The Matrix is real, or there's a glitch in the Matrix. There's like, it's so many common sayings now that are just so casual, and it all derives from this one movie series, which is it's interesting to see how a society can adapt certain things from something that's fictional.
Social, all just pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
So like when something like popular catches on, like people, start saying it or start seeing it around places.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's used in marketing, advertising. Like I know, like when the Barbie movie came out, I heard "Kenough" so much, or people saying "I'm just Ken" like everywhere.
Oh my god.
And so
me
it's
too.
like catchy things like that just catch on with people, and it entertains our brains, so we have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Back in fashion, I have one more question I wanted to ask. What is your dream outfit? Take away any restriction. Take away any you have all the confidence. You have everything. No monetary worries. Just like the outfit that you would wear, no questions asked.
A beautiful ball gown.
Okay, Ayumi.
I don't know.
Or if we want to talk fantasy wise.
Sure, any genre.
What is that? Or the
Any genre?
the assassin-like fashion
Ooh.
that we see a lot of like in fantasy and stuff. And it's like I would love to wear stuff like that with like all the belts and buckles, even though it's like there's no function to it. It just looks freaking cool.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, he's like also like the coat, the hooded capes and stuff. Like, yeah, they're great for keeping warm with it, but doing a lot of these stunts and that, it's going to get in the way. It's going to be in your way. But damn it, does it not look cool?
Yeah, seriously. I think personally, I have two like movies, like two different. It's Dune and Lord of the Rings. I would wear an outfit from either of those. Dune, I love the ancient but at the same time sci-fi look. Trench coats, like I want a trench coat so badly. That is like my one jacket I want to get. I want to get a trench coat, like a really cool trench coat. Like that's one that like after watching shows like Sherlock, seeing various pictures, watching shows like Dune, like a really kind of like and guys like this kind of drapey but almost comfortable and like a cool trench coat. That's my like idea of kind of like I want something like that.
Right. That'd be really cool. But yeah, that's even like another thing is just like so like these fighting leathers that you read about like in Fourth Ring and things like that. I've noticed recently like a lot of women have been asking to like, hey, where are these training outfits that I want athletical wear like that? And so like women are now like trying to go through and find athletic wear that looks like this so they actually can work out in it and things like that and wear it. I'm so
are we gonna see a boom of like leather athletic wear that we see in like the books like Fourth Wing and stuff?
I don't know if it'd be leather because
No,
I don't know if you've ever actually wore leather, Lynn.
No, I have not. So I could be very wrong.
Okay, so it's not I would not recommend working out in it.
Okay.
I've worn leather before.
Okay.
I've worn leather and I've worn pleather. So they're not that great for like breathable motility.
Okay. Okay.
I definitely would not recommend trying to work out in anything like that. So, I mean, it was great armor. Like, believe it or not, leather armor actually did what it needed to do, and it did great. Now, would it stop an error or something? No, but it actually did save you from like some grazings of swords and things like that. And it did great. It served its purpose. It was actually a lot more durable than what people would have thought, especially if you layered it up and things like that. So because they also would have like other things underneath their leather armor, but like it served its purpose and it did well. But would I actually recommend wearing leather and stuff like that? No.
Fair.
But it looks cool. It's great.
Fair enough. Okay. I think like yeah, my like there was Ayumi, you sent me a Twitter post a while ago of Dune inspired outfits. Yeah, I totally wear some of those outfits, especially like what were the names? Oh my god, I love Dune so much. How can I forget the name?
Kind of does that, like capitalizes like on that modern day fighting ish style type of look dress or whatever.
I love the costume design in like the modern day Dune. Like it's practical. Like you see it, and it's like you could wear this and actually fight like this. It is practical. But then also like this, I love the element of like Dune where with what they're wearing, you could see it in modern day. It's like it's not far off in the future, despite it being this extremely sci-fi movie, like of the highest level. The outfits they're wearing are not that far off of what our current fashion is. It's like it's tailored to the historical context, but the actual like clothing styles, you see a lot of those current modern day clothing styles, trench coats, jackets, shirts. Like you see it. It's and then draping clothing. Like you see it around you just have to look in the right place. can't just look at the U.S. as like a fucking no all be all. It's like you have to look at different cultures. You have to look at different societies, different parts of the world to see these different types of clothing. It doesn't mean it's not modern. It's just every single country has their own kind of style.
Yeah, definitely. They have their own fashion history and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like again another whole entire box of worms.
Yep.
You'd be diving into.
Yeah.
Yeah, like each culture, each place, and each era has like a story and history and reason being why their fashion was the way that it was.
Yeah.
Mm.
Here's another good question. Why do you like what you wear? Why do you wear it first off? There's like because like this dives into like the mentality of fashion. Why do you wear it? What kind of joy does it bring you? You as a person, does it give you confidence to do in something? Does it make you feel more comfortable? For me, I like wearing jeans. I like wearing shirts. I like having an outfit like of good color contrast because I feel confident and I'll say it, I feel cool in what I wear. Like if it feels like something like I could go anywhere and I wouldn't be viewed as like kind of like he's kind of out of place, but he also looks very cool. It's like I like my outfits because I feel like I'm not in a worry of, well, I'm gonna be judged by what I'm wearing and I'm gonna just feel out of place. It's I'm gonna be judged by what I'm wearing, and I know they're gonna say my outfit looks cool, and so that gives me confidence. Confidence to be comfortable, confidence to do whatever. Like even like at home, if I'm wearing something, I like to always wear something that I could kind of just wear whenever. Now, granted, I have like a at home wear that I could just go out on the street with, but it's like that's like my feeling with it. And I like to try and sometimes experiment. Like I've been recently like trying to use my leather jacket for a lot more kind of things. And trying to like match my boots with different outfits, and also like kind of trying out like that's like where I discovered it's like I really like this kind of more baggy kind of pants, like these kind of cargo pants with boots mixed with like a really cool shirt and a jacket. I was like, oh, that I like this outfit combo. Or a sweatshirt and like a white sweatshirt with my gray pants and boots. So that was an outfit I really liked.
Yeah, I think that's like pretty much for everyone. It's a lot of the reasons like why they want to wear. So they want to wear because to some degree it's going to give you confidence. Because I know like what I like to wear is like I get a confidence boost from my own stuff. And it's like I like looking nice. I like looking good. And one of the things I always say is like you look good, you feel good, you do good. So like you have that little bit of confidence, and then it's like if somebody gives you a compliment, it's just like the little extra icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's like if that's like that right there. It's not about getting it's like at the end of the day, I think viewing fashion, you're pleasing yourself. You're not if you're wearing fashion to please other people and only for that reason, I feel that it's something wrong that you're doing, because at the end of you should feel happy about what you're wearing. You shouldn't be worried about what other people think you're wearing. You should be happy with what you're wearing. And even if it needs to meet society standards, you should still be happy in it. Because like as you said, it's like if you feel good, you can do good. And even if you like, because I think some people think it's like, well, I don't think that. I don't think I look bad. It's maybe you consciously don't think you look bad. But if you think subconsciously, because subconsciously you don't think about that. That's just there. Everything has an effect on anything. How it's like your conditions around you, it's like kind of affect how you yourself are feeling, what you're wearing, what you're drawing. This kind of goes into art, but it's like how you're drawing, what you're drawing, kind of it affects like subconsciously. There's a reason why everything you're doing is happening.
Yep. I think so that's like one of the reasons why I wear stuff, and like sometimes like I tell you guys like, hey, I come home late. But it's like one of those days where I actually went out that day, whatever. So therefore, I put a little more effort into my appearance because I'm like, I'm gonna be out, and I can wear this stuff because I'm not like doing anything that's like hands on. I'm going to be like working or just sitting around where like I have different clothes for different occasions throughout the day and things like that. This is where my outdoor clothes, where it's like I'm meant to be seen in this. So it's like I'll come home and it's like I don't want to wash the makeup off my face yet. I don't want to take these clothes off yet because like I like how I look, and it's like it looks nice. So therefore, I feel nice. Then I still want to feel like this little baddie in this outfit that I threw together, no matter how simple or complex it is.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Ayumi?
Yeah, I like what I wear, and I'm proud. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think she might still be dealing with mini leader.
Yeah. But there was something I was gonna say. There was something. It was based on something you were saying, and I don't remember what. Okay, let me backtrack to my thoughts.
Good job. You've been losing your thoughts a lot today.
I mean, it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. I think yeah, it's been a long day. Okay, let's. How about we talk about that? What is your reaction to like what do you do when you have a long hard day? Like, what is your way of like how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal when you come home? You've had an extremely long day. What is your personal way of dealing with it?
Disconnect from everyone and everything.
I think okay. For me it's like if I have a long day, like the last thing I'm thinking about is something outside. That's literally the last thing I'm thinking about. If I have a long day, I mean like today for example, it's like came home and like immediately it's like I zone out and I focus on like what I'm doing. Like I love hanging out with you guys. I love hanging out with Ayumi. I love doing this. I love doing this podcast, talking about these various different topics. So I like to kind of focus on those things I enjoy that is like I can actively do and get it done. Like even if it's like okay, Ayumi's streaming, okay, I'm gonna go hang out in her stream, or maybe I'm streaming myself, okay, or maybe I'm hanging out in VC and we're watching Avatar. It's like I look forward to those because typically after each day seems to be a long day, so I look forward to those moments, those times, and that's my like kind of wind down period. Is just I'm doing this, doing that, and I zone out. I zone out of anything and
I have days
everything
like that,
around
but
me.
then like the really hard days, that's when like I said, I just want to disconnect from everyone and everything. And like, I just want to just quiet me time. So either I'm just playing a video game by myself, or I'm reading a book, or I'm just just somewhere doing something just completely alone.
That's where I think like I slightly differ because I've never really like wanted to be like alone, kind of like just me, myself, my thoughts. Like I I will do like
Oh, I
you
love it.
yeah,
I love being alone.
for me, I like to hang out with someone close. Someone that's like if I want to talk about the day, I talk about the day. If I'm just focusing on whatever they're doing, then that's what I'm doing. But I like to be like after those like really hard days, basically all I want to do is talk hang out with someone close. Like I don't want like those days I don't want to be just hanging out with random people that I don't really know. I don't want to be streaming. I just want to be with someone that I'm close to.
Right, that makes sense.
Like that's what it is for me. And now like on those days that's when I seem to get the most creative as well because I'm distancing myself so much, so I'm putting myself into a completely different mindset.
Right. That makes perfect sense. So yeah, I just like being alone. Like I actually enjoy my own company. So.
What is I was something ask something hard. What was it?
Again, he's losing it.
It's gone. It was something to do like I wanted to ask a question. It was something to do about something hard.
Was it like the fashion related thing or?
No. damn it, why did I have to drink water at that moment? Because I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I'm thirsty, and I went to drink water, and the thought was in my
Just
mind.
brained.
I was like, oh, a little bit of water, yeah. Water sounds very nice. By the way, everyone, you should hydrate right now. You should hydrate. Hydration is absolutely key.
Mm-hmm.
It is key though. Yeah, okay, I'll talk about this. When you're working on set, like for me, I have to do like a very conscious reminder of myself to drink water because I can get focused on the work so easily. I've literally had people need to remind me to drink some water, to sit down, to get something to eat because I would be so focused on the job. I'm paying attention to all the details. I'm paying attention. I'm doing my job. I'm getting this information. Now, granted, it's on these sets where pretty much everything's relied on upon me, which I'm no stranger to. But when you're in that mindset, it's tunnel vision. It's tunnel vision with broad vision, with myself not as the factor.
Right. I've done that before. Where I was so focused on like what I was drawing or whatever, and I just didn't, drink anything for like 5 or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. My record of time not drinking, 9 hours. And I was working. It was. I think it was the 16-hour day where I went like 9 hours without drinking water. I didn't drink like really drink something, and actually kind of chill down for a minute until like I think it was hour 10 or 11. This was like a 16-hour day, where it was full grind set mindset. We were working an overnight, and overnights. Like it's one thing to transition your body into an overnight kind of sleep schedule of where you're awake at night and you are sleeping during the day. It is simple to transition. All you have to do, like, you kind of have to force yourself to go to sleep, and you kind of have to force yourself to stay awake at a certain point. There are some times where it just doesn't matter. You will have, like, if for me working on set, I had no choice. It was, well, I'm forcing myself to stay up because it's the job, we're filming. But because of that, it made it much easier to come home and go to home as in my Airbnb, go to sleep, and I was then on a nighttime schedule. I was awake at night, and I was asleep during the day. But
Yeah.
regardless if you're on a proper sleep schedule, overnights are brutal. The lack of sun, the cold weather, like just if all the conditions are right, it's a very rough production. Speaking of production, I ran into a person I worked with yesterday. He was a stunt double. No, not a stunt. He was a stand-in for an actor on the feature that I PA'd. He was background for this. I recognized it because I forgot what it was. He said that it was, but he's missing his left arm, from the elbow down. But because of that, he gets a lot of film work because people want him to stand in, or stand in for this guy, or to act as this guy. But I ran into him. I was like, "Oh shoot, I remember you. Did you work?" Like at first, I was like, "I think I remember you. Did you ever work in Lancaster?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, where he was a stunt double. He had the duct tape, and it was awesome to run into someone I've worked with before.
That's pretty cool. Especially like hearing that, like, since he's like missing an arm and stuff, like that's what's getting him to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't think that'd be like one of the things that people are like, I really want to work with you just because you're missing, an arm.
Oh, it actually the film industry is really good at finding those specific people. Like, because when you are that one specific person who's a rarity, the film industry loves you because there's so many roles that people come up with that they need this like one regular person for. They need this one person who does this, and they can't find it because like the thing, like missing an arm. The alternative is you have like a sleeve with like a prop arm, or you're wearing a green screen sleeve on like a higher budget, and they remove your arm.
Right. Either it's a prop or it's CGI.
Yeah, it's like it's a prop, it's CGI, or if they can find the real thing, then it's the real thing. It's the same thing with stunt doubles. Like, ow, I'm sorry, my wrist. Stunt doubles. It is actually really hard. Like, that's why you'll see sometimes the stunt double for some A-list actors, like, they look very different. They have similarities, but they look very different. Like, either their height is completely wrong, or their kind of like their hair, facial structure is very, very wrong, or their age is completely wrong. Because like it is so hard to find a stand-in, a double for an actor who also does stunt work. But when you find like that one person who looks nearly identical to you and does stunt work and is similar height and has similar structure, like those people who look similar, like they pretty much and if it's an A-list actor, they're always working. They're always working with this actor because of the fact they're the double. They're the stand-in double, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is neat. I know I watched like Quarter Crew, and they'll get like some of the stunt doubles and things that out there like on their show and stuff. Like they'll give like some really cool behind the scenes things of them. I wish I could remember the names, but I can't. But I know like the one like he was talking about working on the Avengers, and he said like they were always selling. He said at one point he said oh yeah, by the way they left this movie because they didn't catch it. He goes, he's like, so in this one scene in an elevator, he's like, you have Chris, who's Captain America, and he's sitting there talking and all this stuff. He said, if you look back, he's like, we have this little fight scene. He goes, we're all supposed to, we get our butts kicked by him, and he said, we're on the ground, pretend like we're knocked out. He goes, I was actually asleep. He's like, I instantly fell asleep. I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So, like, you'll get little stories like that from them.
And I can say it's like someone who's works in this is like, yeah, all these tiny little stories. It's so fun when they happen. It's like these small moments, and it is what bonds a film crew together, film crew and cast together, is those small moments of like either this one person did this one thing, or maybe this one person kind of was doing something. Like this one set yesterday, one little thing that like I saw one of the PAs doing is they were going around giving tickets and stuff. They were doing $5 Friday, where at the end of the day someone was going to win a bunch of money. And it's those each film set, especially like because the production that I was on yesterday, they're filming for 30 days. They were on day 5. Yeah. And when you're working with the same crew over and over, you do tend to kind of bond over certain things. Now, will you
especially for a long period of time?
Oh yeah, it's like I like to make the sayings like, well, if this guy and that guy both are if you and another guy don't get along, but neither of you can be fired because you're both critical roles, you better resolve your shit with this dude because you guys are going to be working together. You guys have 3 months on the film schedule. You are going to be in a remote location. There is no alternative. You need to figure it out because you're going to be working with him. And if you have a problem day one, it's going to be I like
there's a lot of actors that do that though. Like not everybody's going to get along with everybody. And like I hear stories all the times like from actors like I didn't like working with them. It's like you can't tell it on screen because that we're professionals. But like as soon as like they said cut, and it was like, oh god, it's like they were like miles apart. They wanted to get away from one another.
Yeah, no, but that is like a very valid thing. It's like there are some things where people can resolve it, but sometimes there is certain situations where it is not something that can be resolved because you're asking the other person to completely change who they are and how they act and everything about them. And like that's impossible to ask anyone, no matter if it's right or wrong. Regardless of it, you're telling them to change them as a person. So some situations can't be avoided. The best that can be done, and this is what typically happens, is you try and narrow it down to as much as you can. So for like a writer's aspect, if before anything happens in production, like in pre-production, when you're casting your talent, you do a chemistry test to see if these talent will bond together, because especially if it's a long production and you have multiple lead cast, the people need to have good chemistry between each other. That's like one thing.
I didn't know that they would test for that specifically, or they just straight up tell them suck it up.
No, they actually do a chemistry test. Sometimes they kind of like they do their best, but if they get this A-list actor, like they get the A-list actor versus someone else. But yeah, like that is an actual thing that they do. Is a chemistry test. But even if the chemistry test can't, like, if you are forced to have multiple actors who don't get along with each other, what the writers do and like what the AD does and like just the general scheduling is they will make it so that there is as minimal time together. They shoot out these scenes as quick as possible, and they don't like have as much interaction, like on set and
Yeah.
off set.
Well, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that there's some kind of like courtesy, I guess, if that's what you want to say, like towards it to these people.
Yeah, they try. They now some productions don't. Some productions don't care. But I know like as a general they try and at least make it easier on the actors, because if you have two actors that refuse to work with each other, you're going nowhere. The film can't go anywhere. You can't fire these actors because they're your lead actors, and
Right.
you have a schedule to keep. You can't go over budget, so you have to figure a way around it. Now, some productions they will. If you're not a lead actor and you have a problem, they'll just replace you. It is interesting, though. I'm interested with Marvel, because they have to recast their main villain, either recast or rewrite. Rewrite with a new cast, because the actor of their main villain for the current phase, was found guilty on multiple, I think, criminal charges. And Marvel has let him go, obviously. They're like, yep, nope, we are not associated with you anymore. You are not going to be in anything future. So, and it's justified, like, from the stuff, like, especially found guilty. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, like, one, you mentioned, like, actors won't say things on screen. There's a reason. It's like we like to call it the Hollywood blacklist, where it's like there is an actual Hollywood blacklist, like where Central Casting, for example, they have a list of background actors who were registered who have been a nuisance on set or have been whatever, and like when casting directors get actors, they reference this thing. It's like, has this person been a problem before? No, great, we'll take them. Oh, they have? Nope. Next one, because they have a huge database. But then most things are word of mouth. But unless you're talking to someone who's the same, who knows what you're talking about, knows the person that you're talking about, and knows what this person that you're talking about has done, it's a general rule of thumb. You can talk about the person, but don't name drop, and don't say what production it was on. Especially if you're talking publicly, you don't say the name, you don't say the production. You can just say, I had an actor that I worked with in the past, that was absolutely disrespectful or whatever, which is a recent situation. I forgot her name, but like one of the talent from Dune, there's been a huge controversy because she recently came out and said where there was one movie that she did with an A-list actor who was like extremely disrespectful, was extremely toxic. And now most fans have a lot of theories. I have a theory because I've also heard about this guy from talking with crew and how this guy's treated crew as well. But yeah, it's like it's a general rule of thumb. You don't say names, even if the person pisses you off, because unless you're trying to get them blacklisted, you just kind of don't. Because also saying the name out loud, regardless if you're right or wrong, it can also backfire on you. Where the industry was like, well, you told on this person. We don't like you. You're not a team player. It's a toxic nature in the film industry. This is true. This is absolutely true. But that is just how the entire industry is. And until there's major industry change, that's just kind of how it has to be. Where it's like, even if you have to deal with crap, you don't say names, because if this person is a lot bigger than you, you might never see the day of work again. Like, okay, prime example. I worked on a movie. I was used as background. My car was used as a picture car. This is when I had a car. I was not compensated for anything. And while legally, like, after my dad talked to an entertainment lawyer, and the thing is, legally, I could go and I could win and I could get compensation. And then I might never work another day in the industry in my life again because word of mouth will be like, well, this guy went through an entire legal trial just to get a little bit of money. It's like
Yeah.
it's you. There's pros and there's cons to every situation. So that's just something that's like you mentioned that, and I was like, oh, this is actually a good thing to expand on because it is a very valid thing.
Yeah. So like, the payoff isn't worth it in the end.
Yep.
Also, probably not worth like all the legal fees and like headache and stuff. Like try and do all that.
Oh yeah, unless you're being paid like over 10 grand, 100 grand, or whatever, millions, it's not worth it to go through an entire legal process. It's not worth it to go for 100 and a couple bucks. Like hell, like to this day, I haven't signed because of situation. I haven't signed a release form, on something because I wasn't fairly compensated. I wasn't compensated. I was taken advantage of. So I haven't been questioned about it. From my knowledge, the thing is still in post. It's not, from what I heard, it's not going anywhere. But it's like there's ways to do things that aren't like the actual kind of regular kind of standard. Where without going the legal way, there are ways to get compensated because some productions do not want to deal with it. But there is also, like in California, there is a labor union or like an actual like government labor protection kind of thing where if you're not paid by, this is just one situation because I've seen stories on Facebook. If you're not paid and you have like the legal grounds for it and you're past like the normal pay periods where it's either a net 14 or a net 30 or a net 7 or whatever situation it is, you will, if you were not paid for something and you've passed the period of where they were supposed to pay you and you have contractual and you have legal proof of this, every day, I think it's up to a certain time period, production has to pay you a full day's work for every day they are late. You know how like it's like there's interest every day they don't pay you. Money gets added to the amount of how much they're supposed to pay you. I think this one guy like he won oh shoot. I hate when those happen. I think he earned like he got 20 something $1,000, I think it was, for being paid late because this production didn't pay him, and then they maxed out the maximum that it could be. And so this guy, like when he finally won the thing, he got a huge paycheck that production had to pay.
Yeah.
Yep. We yapping. We yapparoonies.
Yeah, but we've been going out for a while, so
yeah, yeah, I think it's a good time to call it. We've been going.
So, I will leave you with this one little fun fact.
Mm.
Back to movies and fashion.
Ooh.
So, did you know at one point we didn't actually use fashion designers outside the US for movies?
Sorry, what?
Yep. So you actually have Audrey Hepburn to thank for this too, that contributed to this. So back during the 1953 movie Sabrina, which is during a time period where we still use black and white, it went until like the tail end of the 50s, early to the 60s when we started transition to color. But anyways, so yeah, the 1953 film Sabrina, Audrey Hepburn was cast, and if I remember right, this was her. No, I think it's probably her second one. It wasn't her first one. Anyways, but it was still during her more earlier career. It's the film is supposed to be about this young woman who's pining after one of the guy's son, for the family that her father works for. He is their automotive guy. He's, their driver and things like that, and he takes care of their cars and all that stuff. So her and her father, live in the little apartment that's above this family's garage. And it's your rich people and things like that. And her father ends up, deciding, he's like, well, obviously you can't have this guy because we're both different social statuses and things like that, and like they're not going to take, like, some girl like you. And it goes about, he sends his daughter off to Paris to become a lady, basically, and to, like, hopefully help get her mind off of, liking this guy and things like that. And it was supposed to be a transitional thing, like here she is before and then here she is after, and how she's wearing, like, French design clothing, that she's very more ladylike and all this stuff. And well, when it was explaining all this to Audrey, she's just like, well, who's my designer? And like, all this person, and she's like, well, why don't I actually go to Paris and enlist the work of an actual French designer, because it's supposed to be French, right? And they're like, well, yeah. She's like, okay, then why aren't you actually using a French person who's in, who knows French fashion and things like that? And also, again, this is where we're still pretty much French is like the fashion capital of, well, France is like the fashion capital of it all. Things like that. And this also helped launch a well-known fashion designer today. So when she went over, and now at the time there were two Audreys. I can't remember the last name of the other Audrey, but she was another well-known actress and things like that. And at the time when she requested the meeting of this guy, he thought he was meeting the other Audrey. He had no clue who Audrey Hepburn was, which, of course, why would you? She's a new uprising star, so nobody's really going to know about her. And so she goes and meets him, and lo and behold, the fashion designer she ends up meeting is Givenchy.
Oh.
And instantly, he was just completely captured by her. And he's like, I don't have the time to design you gowns and outfit stuff from scratch, because he was actually working on his own fashion
line
runway at the time. Yeah, his own fashion line. He was getting ready for a runway, and so all his time and resources was going to that. And so it was unfortunate timing, but he's like, I don't have the time to do that. He said, but he took a turn. He said, anything here, he said, we can alter to fit you and work for this film. He's like, if he said, and it was a shame because he really wanted to, but he couldn't. He couldn't dedicate the time to, like, make something from scratch.
Yeah.
Like that. So he had to do this, but they ended up both fostering this well-known relationship between them, to the point she worked it into a contract. She refused to have any other fashion designer other than Givenchy design every outfit that she wore in her movie career. Now, he may have collaborated with other designers, but it had to be Givenchy.
He was the head of department on that. Yeah.
Yep. And she kind of, like, oh god, the female designer at the time who worked in Hollywood, who's doing all films, costumes, I can't remember her name. She didn't like it because it was kind of a slight to her, because she's like, oh, how dare you not want to wear, like, my stuff. She's like, I do all the, like, the American Studios fashions. What's wrong with you? But again, like, from Audrey's standpoint, like, it made sense. Like, you're wanting this girl to go to France to wear French fashion and things like that, and then, like, what do you do? Have her come back wearing American clothing? But you made it a point to it be French. So she's like, well, then use a French designer. So it's like, it made sense, and it paid off. And so therefore, that's when they're like, all these studios that are just like, huh, we never thought about outsourcing it to, non-American sources.
Of course.
Why don't we do that? Yeah, it's like, why would you? So it kind of helped open up those gates to use outside sources to help design and make things for these movies. And it's like, huh, who would have thought, this 20-something-year-old uprising movie star would, like, help pave the way for something like that. So, like, that's really cool. And then also help jumpstart this fashion brand's career to really get its foot in the door, because all the stuff she wore through the movie, it was his. It was all his stuff, and which, God, beautiful ensembles. Just they're gorgeous. I love them. I wish I could wear some of them. So, but yeah, thought I'd just leave you with that little fun fact.
I think that's a great fun fact to leave it off of. I think that's interesting, and it's very interesting to see how like one person takes a leap, and it changes everything. One person, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
One person.
Yeah, that's true. Does that leap of faith?
That leap of faith. What do you think, Ayumi, if you're able to speak? I don't know, mini leader might be still.
Yeah, I think mini leader.
My internet was giving me issues.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Well,
Where's Sunshine? First mini leader, now her internet.
God damn it.
Hello.
Hello. We're ending it off.
I know.
Yes. Now, everyone, thank you for coming. And thank you for coming to what I said it was episode 11. Episode 11. We will see you guys in 2 weeks on episode 12. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.